So the last study I want to talk to you about, any questions on those two? You're really good, the coffee didn't kick in yet, but okay. So the NCAA, this is really interesting because I was fired because I was a gay coach, but now the NCAA gave me some money actually to do a study on the student-athlete climate. So if you hang around long enough, things come around, right? So the study was done not on LGBTQ only, and interestingly enough, the most difficult part of getting back up. So the NCAA has its own IRB, Institutional Research Board. And you have to go through that board in order to be able to do any research on student athletes. Now, if you know anything about student athletes, it's very difficult to have them be involved in any studies. You know why? We're really busy, yeah, but beyond that. You can't get access. I'm the coach. I am the gatekeeper. You want to use my student athletes, you got to come to me, and I'm probably going to tell you, if I don't know you, no way, right? So again, because they're so busy, we don't want to make sure we don't have to overburden them with something else. So it's very difficult to get access. And so the IRB said that you can't do the study because there are too many questions that could identify student athletes in different ways. And I'm like what? Guess what they said? Sexual orientation. Take that question off and you can do the survey. I said, nope. So we waited a few years, and what they came back was if you get IRB approval from every institution that's involved in the study, then you can do it. So we did. We did 30 plus IRB applications. Have you ever done one of those? It was a lovely time. Okay. I couldn't pay graduate students to do that work. So, we did the study. It was a great study. And I want to talk a little about the student athletes that are trans in that study. These are not in the study, but we'll talk about trans student athletes. The study actually identified over 400 currently playing LGBTQ student athletes in all divisions, Division I football championship series, bowl series, and non-football, Division II and Division III. In every sport, so all the 22 NCAA-sponsored sports, there were LGBTQ individuals. 11 identified as transgender in the study. So we couldn't do a lot of analysis, obviously, but the idea that they were there was important. I'm now working with Nike and a number of amazing people in pro sports, rec sports, K through 12, and college. I'm the geek researcher on this group, our goal is to eradicate homophobia in sport in the next 5 years. And I think that is a lofty vision, but I also think it's very doable. And if you're interested, I'll have to talk about that after we talk about this stuff. But so in the focus on trans athletes, Renee Richards was the first. If you remember, if you don't remember, then you're a student, then go back and do some research. But she was a tennis player when I was very young and gave an identity to a male-assigned birth sex who is now playing tennis as a woman. And I've put in some clips here from YouTube that you can go and listen to them speak. If we have time at the end, I might go back to these, but I want to make sure I leave time for the recommendations. So Kyle Lums, the very first trans man or masculine expressing woman to play Division I college basketball. And Keelan Gotzi, if you don't know Keelan, just missed being, again, openly trans man athlete to miss the Olympics by one spot this past time. So the difficulty they talk about, which I'll talk about in a second, is in regards to having to either be in my sport, which is what I've trained my whole life to do, or to be who I am. And to have to go through that every day in identity. So I found it's nearly impossible to be both trans and an athlete. Being an athlete and being trans are both a part of my identity. I don't have to feel like I choose one or the other. But every day that has to happen, right? Because you can't compete in sport as a transgender athlete until recently. Donna Rose, a transgender activist who is a wrestler, who is now wrestling again, actually. So, and is wrestling in AAC&U meets as a woman. So it's an interesting thing. If you know Phelan, who is a martial artist, who is birth assigned sex female and is now male, and now competing as a woman within the martial arts community. So I think you all said, wow, in 5 years, and I think Hallie's never in my lifetime moments over the last probably 15 years. This is one of the never in my lifetime. I think it's going to happen, so I'm very excited about it. Misconceptions around transgender athletes. One is that trans and intersex athletes have an unfair advantage in sport. I didn't talk about intersex athletes, but I can, if you'd like to, at the end of this, we can talk more about that. Athletes who appear too masculine have an unfair advantage, more testosterone, and female transsexual athletes retain the physical attributes of their male bodies. Those are misconceptions. I'll give you a great example that at one, not too long ago, NCAA competition final, there are two teams who are going to play each other, softball, because that's my background. And in this championship, they usually have a dinner the night before so that they can get to know each other and celebrate awards and things like that. There was one obviously trans-masculine identified person on one of the teams because of the way that they expressed themselves. They were in a tuxedo, right? And looked, very handsome in their tuxedo. The next day, they start to play, and that tuxedo-adorned person was the pitcher on the winning team. What did the other coach do? Protested, challenged the gender of the pitcher. And at that time, in their infinite wisdom, what happened? How did they decide? Yep, right then and there. Now, what if the athlete was intersex? Even if they're not. The hormone test, actually, drug testing happens anyway. I mean, my kids got tested all the time, and they were usually at 6 o'clock in the morning, so you didn't have a whole lot of time to do anything, to get ready to get tested. And so there was no identification of that in their preliminary testing or the secondary testing. So anyway, that's changed dramatically in the NCAA, so let me offer that. So now we have female-assigned birth sex trans athletes competing in the Ironman. This is Chris Mosier. And testosterone levels are so highly monitored in sport, there's no way they're going to have testosterone levels any higher than any other athlete competing. So the misconception, right? You also have Mian Bagger, who is a professional women's golfer playing on the LPGA Tour, who is birth sex male and now playing as a woman on the tour. And you can see here also that post-operative MTF, everything is the same as if you were a woman. And so there's not an unfair advantage due to the person having identified as who they are.